Okay, I think it's recording. I'm just gonna.
Yeah, it's recording. Like the thing says it on the screen.
Okay, that was supposed to be when I started speaking, but thank you for cutting me off. Really?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm kidding. It's all good.
Good job, Rhonda. Good job.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of our STEP Mentorship podcast series. We have a few guests here today who are going to be representing the science faculty. We know that this is a really popular choice for a lot of high school students, so they're just here to share some insights as to what it's like within the program, sort of what factors they considered before choosing their program, and maybe a little bit about what they want to do after they graduate, because science is one of those things where you need to have a path defined after undergrad. So I think they'll definitely talk about that. So without further ado, do you guys want to just sort of introduce yourselves?
Hi, everyone. I'm Mido.
Buddy, you gotta say like what program you're in, like, you know, your year, university, like.
Okay, I'm in my Master's of Applied Linguistics. I am currently entering my second year of Master's program, University of Western Ontario. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Mido. Okay, my name is Linda, and I just finished my second year of medical sciences at Western University. And so, yeah, that's what's going on right now.
Hi, Rhonda.
Hi. Hello, everyone. My name is Hannan. I'm also just finished my second year of medical sciences at Western, and I'm excited to see what my third and fourth year holds because I find out next month.
Good luck.
Wait, so for med sci, like the specializations, you have to choose a specialization before you go into third year, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So do you guys already know, like, if you got accepted into the one that you wanted to get into?
We find out in June, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, like sometime during the summer.
And sometimes you get accepted into specialization that isn't actually the one you chose, but then you have to like reselect again in fourth year. Because they just try to like fill up the spots. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, if anyone's wondering why the guy in the Masters is here, it's because he did his undergrad at McMaster in life science. So we thought he could maybe be his shirt. Maybe he can help those students who might be considering McMaster or specifically life sci at Mac, because he's been there and done that. So kind of jumping sort of straight into it, like when you guys were in high school, what are some of the factors or some of the main factors that you guys did consider before ultimately choosing a program? Oh, by the way, before you answer that, my name is Faizan. I forgot to introduce myself. I am going to fourth year and I'm trying to do a dual degree with health sciences and business. So I'm kind of here to represent the Western health sciences kind of cohort. So yeah, back to the question. What are some of the key factors that you guys did consider before choosing a program?
I love how we all wait for like Mido.
Yeah.
Okay, let me actually simplify that a little bit. Maybe not your program specifically, maybe the field of science in general, because I think that's what many people are considering, like science in general, less so like a specific program. So sort of, yeah, like what field, like why did you choose this field?
I'll take this one from you, Mido.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So basically, I think it was like super early on where I was just like, I'm going to be a doctor, right? Like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to med school. I got this, right? And then I think it was like grade 11 or grade 12 where I was just like, I don't know. Like I started, okay, this is kind of weird, but I would like go online on like Google Scholar and I would like read research papers. I know it's like super nerdy. And so I was just like, you know what? This research thing is like super cool. And so I started like looking more into it and I was just like, this might be a more appropriate, direction for me to go to, given the fact that I really hate hospitals. And so I started looking more into that. And then, so when it came to applying to universities, I came to apply to Western and I looked at the medical science program and they had a lot of really cool specializations that you wouldn't like generally find in like any other life science, health sci type of program in any other university. And so that was kind of the main reason why I chose to come to Western for med sci, if that answers the question.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was playing FIFA in grade 11 and 12, so I think we're definitely one step ahead.
Yeah, no, I was in a similar boat. I was playing a lot of FIFA in grade 7, but like for I think since my brother started university, he went to U of T for life science, and he did for his first year when I was in grade 8. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to go down the same route. I don't need to think too much. Just go do my 4-year degree, go to med school, whatever. And obviously, he had a different experience that I feel like a lot of students have heard about, like the universal, um, like I guess difficulty of that program, which we won't go into because I wasn't in the program itself. So by the time like grade 11 rolled around, I was like, okay, let me start considering different programs. So I went to this conference called Operation Med School. Obviously, like it's like, you know, I was considering med school, obviously, and there was someone in the panel who was in the Western like medical science program. So I thought, okay, I've never heard of this program. Let me look into it. And then what initially drew me to actually what drew me to the program was Western itself. I thought, if I want a good university experience, let me go to some place that's social and that has a good emphasis on student life. And then because a lot of science programs, there are differences, but they're pretty standardized for the first 2 years at least. So I know that I'll get a good education regardless. And like Randa said, the third and fourth year specializations were kind of what took the cake. And because in medical science, third and fourth year are linked to the medical school, the School of Medicine and Dentistry at Western itself, I feel like that would kind of give a different experience compared to the other schools I was considering back in May 2018.
For me, I really didn't know what I wanted to be. You guys seem like, oh, med school, med school, med school. For me, I remember I remember entering grade 12 and I was talking to my parents. It's like, I really don't know what I want to be. Do I want to be an engineer? Do I want to be a doctor? Do I want to go to science? What do I want to do? Business? I have no clue, right? And like I remember throughout high school, like I took every course possible so that like whatever program I wanted to apply to, I had my prerequisites like done. So essentially, when it came to like application time, I was talking to my parents and I was like, I still don't know. So just apply to everything. Then I applied to I think like 4 or 5 different schools for engineering and sciences both. So like because I didn't know, did I want to be an engineer? Did I want to be a science? I don't know. Then I was like, whoever accepts me, that's who I'm gonna accept. And like when I got the acceptance letters, I was like, okay, maybe I actually do need to decide my future and not just based on who accepted me. So it was just a matter of I thought about it, and did I want to do math more or did I want to do more science-based courses? And I realized that while I may enjoy math, I do like learning about the body. I like learning about science more. So that's just ultimately the path I went. I went into it simply because that's what I enjoyed. I didn't really go in knowing I wanted to be a doctor, knowing I wanted to do anything. It was just, I really don't know what I want to do. I applied to everything and here I am.
Nice. Yeah, I was kind of in the same boat as you actually. I really had no clue what I wanted to do. I think I applied to like 16 programs from OUAC. Like it was, bro, it was bad. It was really bad. But the thing is, I applied to, I think, like 4 business programs, like 6 science programs, and like another 6 like Eng programs. Dude, my Western, because you're only allowed to apply to 3 programs per university. For Western, it was literally like MedSci, Health Sci, Kin. Like that's it. Master, it was like Eng, Health Sci, Life Sci. Like it was really yeah, I no clue. And I guess what drove me to Western was I initially had an interest in science and more so on biology or molecular biology and cell bio. I really found that interesting, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to go down the medicine route, and I knew that business was something I was also considering. And I knew that Western had the the dual degree option. So that's kind of what led me here. It allowed me to sort of postpone my decision for another 2 years and figure out which of those paths I wanted to do. So yeah, I guess that's why I came to Western. So on that note, when you were in your like respective programs, I mean, can you guys maybe like talk a little bit about what your experiences were or are like right now, just so the people who are listening, they can get a better idea of what it's like, you know, how are the profs like, what is the workload, what are some of the courses that you're taking, some good or bad stories if you have any.
I guess I'll take that one. So I guess like my experience is pretty split between like my first and second year. My first year I was loving it. Like the first month I came in and I was like, yo, I got this. I'm doing well in my first two tests. The workload it's obviously more than it was in high school, but I thought it was manageable. Because I really like self-studying. I got used to that in grade 12. So because a lot of success in university, not just science programs, relies on your ability to self-study, that I was in my element. So that theme kind of ran through first year. I had a couple of hiccups here and there, but again, nothing too major. In first year, obviously, you take courses like bio for 2 semesters, physics for 2 semesters, chemistry for 2 semesters, calculus for a semester, and you get a choice of what math you want to do for the second semester, and then you get an elective. So it's pretty like rigid. But because again, like I did my research before coming into the program, I didn't feel too constrained. I knew why I was doing those courses. Come second year, it was a completely it felt like university did a complete 180. Like the tools that you need for success in first year, yes, you need them in second year, but you need to take that to the next level. And there is more flexibility in second year, or at least you perceive that, but you still kind of have to take the same courses like organic chemistry, biochem, statistics, research methods. So I guess I felt like I wasn't really prepared for the workload or like the volume of work in first semester, but eventually I adapted in second semester. So I had my worst semester in first semester of second year, and then my best semester this semester, like in university. So it was definitely like a bit of a polarizing year, but that was just my experience. I don't know if Randa can relate.
Yeah, no, literally the same exact thing. Like first semester was like a mess. It was really bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got it together this semester though. Yeah, for sure.
I don't know how it is at Western, but McMaster is like different. One big difference is in Western you specialize after your second year. In McMaster, it's after your first year. So we only had one general science year, and then towards April we have to apply and to figure out what specialty we want to be in, and then it starts in second year. So that was one difference. And because of that, let's just say first year wasn't the easiest year. Definitely a massive adjustment period going from high school to McMaster. I have to admit though that the guidance counselors, admission counselors, all those people, they were very, very, very helpful, not only for myself, but I know for many of my friends that I've seen. So that's one big thing, because I don't know how it is at Western, but I know McMaster, they always pride themselves on their retention rate, going from first year to second year. A lot of students tend to drop out, unfortunately, that is the case. So McMaster prides itself on its retention rate, so they do try to help their students. So it was an adjustment period going from first to second, but honestly, it's just, for me, it was like exponential. My first year, we don't need to say grades, let's just say I'm never forgetting that grade. And then by the time fourth year came around, everything just like skyrocketed through the roof in terms of grades, simply because they do help you out a lot and they want you to succeed. It's not like they're like, oh, we just want your money. Yeah, they do, but part of it, they also want you to succeed and get the highest grade possible. So when fourth year came around, I was much, much, much happier with my grades. I was happier with just the environment, because McMaster is definitely much smaller than Western, and it was just I like the small aspect, because it's just a nice community, nice little bunch of people. So
bro, Mac looks like a factory, man. I swear.
Listen, it is so nice, and like for anyone, actually no, this is supposed to be studying based. I'm not going to talk about anything else. But McMaster is actually really cool, and like I mean, I did my undergrad at McMaster, teachers college at Western, masters right now at Western, and I still love Mac more. I have to admit, right now I'm wearing a McMaster shirt
Understandable.
for a reason,
Yeah.
right?
Whenever I see this guy, he's wearing his Mac shirt, so the love
Like-
is actually real.
Exactly.
Dude, this guy wears like 3 things. He wears shorts while playing soccer, his Mac t-shirt, and his cargo pants. That's his entire closet.
Yo, the fit is fire.
Listen, whenever I go teaching, I'm wearing dress shirts, dress pants, a tie. Like, I'm good. When I don't have to teach, I'm gonna wear the most comfortable things ever.
It's okay. We're all gonna have to wear hazmat suits anyway.
Yeah, pretty soon.
Oh my god.
Facts.
Yeah, what was the first year class size for Mac Lifestyle?
It was depending on the class. Like, I think the biggest class I had was like 600. It's not much.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? But like, I do remember one of my classes. There was like 30 people, and that was a first year class. Like, they just separated.
Yeah, no, I
many different sections. So
right.
it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, I guess the contrasting thing to like med-sci, as compared to health-sci at least, is that at least at Western, I feel like the med-sci program is extremely raw science focused. So as you mentioned, you're taking like physics and calculus and chemistry and all of those courses. Whereas with health-sci, I feel like I did take chem, hated it, never again, but it was an elective for me. So I chose to do it. So one thing I liked about health sci was the increased flexibility and the flexibility in terms of electives. But the one thing about it is that it depends on the type of person you are. It's a blend between that raw science piece and also like a sociology piece, because we do have courses like anatomy and biology and so on and so forth, and easier bio, all granted, but we don't have HAFI, thank God. But I think we also have courses like health promotion and like childhood health and aging health and things like that. So depending on the type of person you are, I think your fit to certain programs are going to differ. So like I would assume that like Mike Life Sci and Western Med Sci are both like very raw science focused, and not everyone's like into that. So for whoever is listening, I would suggest before you choose a program, like don't just look at your first year courses, but also look at the courses throughout your entire undergrad to actually see if those are things that you're gonna enjoy, and all of the syllabi, whatever it's called, are available for you to see. So definitely do your due diligence, and that's gonna be really helpful.
Yeah, definitely.
Go for it. Go.
Like, so I agree with that. Like, I found that, you know, if we roll it back to grade 11, I was definitely into like the social determinants of health, behavioral determinants of health. So which is why like Mac Health Sci was at my the top of my list in grade 12. But then I was lucky that I kind of taught myself to really love the sciences, which I feel like not everyone does, even in first year and second year. They're interested in it, but they're not like in love with it the same way someone who's in psych or in social sci is. Obviously, you have people who are really passionate about their work. People who have done some really great research since like high school, but yeah, like I feel like if you love it, it's definitely a big advantage to you.
On that note, so like, do you guys feel like there were a lot of opportunities for you to kind of dip your feet in the water with respect to what you want to do in the future? So with Hannan, he wanted to go into more on the medicine route. Do you think there are opportunities available in MedSci for you to kind of test those waters? And for Randa, because you're more interested in research, like were you sort of able to kind of experience that? Like maybe you guys can speak to it. And I don't know if Mido figured out what he wanted to do in undergrad, but the question extends to you as well.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. Were you gonna say?
Oh
something?
no, sorry, no. I was
So for me, because I want to take like a more like research-based route, I feel like at Western's pretty good at like you can like a lot of my friends at least have a lot of really good like research opportunities. I haven't applied to any yet, but that's kind of my plan for third year. But I feel like Western's pretty good. I think Western in general, like at least like now having been 2 years in MedSci, I feel like MedSci is very geared towards driving students to like grad school, like driving a lot of students to grad school. And so they do really work hard to like provide you with like research opportunities and stuff like that. And the profs are super helpful too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I have to agree with Randa. Even though like I'm trying to take like a different career path, obviously like every like 99% of people you meet who want to go into medical school are trying to do research, because obviously it's one of those things that's expected of a future physician. You have to know you have to have those inquiry skills, the ability to create scientific literature and all that. So yeah, like I 100% agree when it comes to like finding research opportunities. If you talk to the right profs, if you are willing to reach out to them and do your own research on like these research programs, you'll find something. Like for me, I reached out to a lot of profs after first year. And then, that worked out for me pretty well. And even during second year, my microbiology prof, like she spent like the first 2 weeks just kind of going into how you can get involved in research at Western. And, the whole medical science program, again, is geared towards that. You have students who are really interested in getting in grad school. They do promote that in the program. And because like the main allure of the program is the fourth year thesis if you do an honor spec. And, like when when you're in the program, you realize that first and second year, aside from the content, they're trying to teach you the skills to be successful in doing your thesis, and then hopefully going on to grad school. But yeah, in terms of like research opportunities for someone who's interested in medicine, like they're definitely abundant. Aside from that, I have to say like they do try to kind of push you away from like being dead set on medicine from first year. You'll have the chemistry class bringing in people from other fields. So if you are interested in medicine, you still have to kind of find your own way. Aside from research, trying to find those clinical opportunities, those volunteer opportunities, which MedSci won't spoon feed it to you, but you'll find other people who are willing to help you out.
Okay. For me, it was teaching. Obviously, I don't think there was much opportunity for me. I lucked out in that by accident I got a job as a teacher, and from there, once you have like, how they always tell you for your first job, they're like, to get your first job you need experience, and to get experience you need your first job. It's that dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I kind of just lucked out with my first job, and then as soon as I got my first job as a teacher, opportunities just started opening up. But I definitely see like other people who like didn't have the same luck as myself, in which they didn't get that first job and they're still attempting. So it is a bit of a challenge. But for me, it's just as soon as I got my teaching job, the dean of science, like I worked in their office as like I would do like a bunch of presentations, and like I would be like a tour guide, and like I would pretty much I even like during the university fair that this high school students get to go to, I was one of the McMaster representatives, right? And that was really cool. And then from there, they liked me, and then they gave me a job at McMaster as a science teacher. And then from there, it's just things just started like cascading and becoming even bigger, all because of just simple luck. And I definitely see, like for me, I was lucky enough that for me, whenever I got an opportunity, I would always pass it on to friends that I know, especially in sciences. I don't know how it is in like in Western, in McMaster. Like I would have friends. I'm putting quotations for people listening on podcast. I'm putting quotations. So friends who, whenever you're like, oh dude, I totally didn't slept through that lecture. Can I get your notes? It's like, nah. And they were super competitive, and it did lead me to like skew away from science people and like befriend more engineering and other faculty, people from other faculties, because it's just science is very, very competitive. I don't know how it is in Western, but that was just my experience. So for me, I tried to pass on anything else, but it's very difficult. McMaster, I don't know how it is again in Western, but in McMaster, they were very, very competitive.
Yeah, no, it's kind of the same.
Yeah.
You really have
sure.
to. Yeah, like honestly, I think you have like weird experiences with people in like first year, and then after that, you kind of learn people's ways, and you like learn who to ask for help and who not to ask for help. But yeah.
It was kind of flipped for me. Like I noticed a lot of camaraderie in first year, just because everyone's just trying to get adjusted. But I noticed everyone kind of like a lot of people figured their stuff out coming into second year, so it felt a lot more isolated. Felt there was more of a feeling of competition, especially with trying to get into the third year modules. You need a certain average. Some are more competitive than others. So again, if you find the right people, then it won't really feel like that. But there's always that lingering feeling in the back of your head, like you're kind of competing with everyone. but yeah, like it's not terrible, but it varies from person to person.
Hannan's the only one who has his like friend circle figured out. Damn, bro.
We won't go into that.
When you guys were talking about research opportunities, I was just wondering, like, you guys talk about how there's a lot of opportunities and it's abundant, but MedSci has, I would think, between like 700 to 1,000 people. So how many of them are
Yeah.
actually available, and what percentage of students actually end up getting them? Because I'd be curious to know.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think realistically, not everyone will get those opportunities, but also not everyone wants those opportunities in first and second year because they're still trying to figure out their academics and other, I guess, like aspects of life. But the thing is, it's not necessarily like you will get those opportunities, but you can if you reach out. That's kind of my thing, because if you go and like look at the different departments within within the Schulich School of Medicine, dentistry, like there's so many different profs who are willing to take on students, provided they do show an interest and they're not just, doing it so they can put it on their medical school app, or doing it just, for the sake of doing it. Like you have to show that interest. But again, like those opportunities are there for the taking if you're willing. So that's how I like to do it. It is definitely competitive though. Like I've gotten plenty of rejections. One prof said he was on sabbatical, but then he ended up interviewing one of my friends. So yeah, like you'll have those experiences if you do try to like go down that route. Yeah.
Damn. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so kind of like shifting gears a little bit more, like from the program to more about like future plans. So I'm just curious, like you guys already hit upon like what your post-grad plans are. So I'm curious if they've changed from high school.
100%. Yeah. So when I came into MedSci, I was just like, I want to do biochem, like biochem is just so cool. And this is just what I want to
Is that what Google Scholars told you?
Yeah, that's exactly what Google Scholars told me. And so that was my focus, right? That I was going to get into one of the biochem modules. And so I get through first year, and then by the end of first year, I realized that I really, really enjoyed my calc and physics courses. And I wanted to keep doing a little bit more of that, or at least have that integrated in what I'm gonna keep studying. And so I took biochem over the summer between first year and second year, and then I was just like, yeah, no, this is not it. Like, if this is what I have to do for the rest of my life, like I need some math in here. And so second year, I took a couple of courses that would prepare me to get into the medical biophysics module. And so that's kind of where I'm headed. And for me, that it was like a complete 360 or 180, because in first year, I was like, in physics first semester, I was just like, we had a really terrible prof. And so I was just like, why would anyone ever want to like take anything that has to do with physics? But then after that, like with my other calc courses, I was just like, yeah, no, this is kind of cool. And so that's where we are now.
Are you thinking of going straight into research, or is it more like undergrad, grad school, and then potentially like research/work?
No, for sure, like undergrad and then grad school. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I've been all over the map since coming into first year. Like we had a first year bio prof, Tom Happy, which I believe Fizan mentioned. He's forever in my heart. He kind of made me want to be a professor, just because of the way he taught, like the way he gave lectures was something I've never seen before. And part of me thinks I'll never see that again for a very, very long time. Like he was a one-of-a-kind person. But also, like, I was kind of in the same boat as Randall. Like, I was really in love with physics and calc first semester. So I was also considering the medical biophysics route, just because, like, I had a reputation in first semester for physics, which I won't go into. But then second semester came and I kind of flopped physics, so I dropped the idea altogether. But yeah, like I've been, like, the reason I chose MedSci was because there was a diversity of different like fields of study you can go into. There's pathology, microbiology, physiology, and all these ologies. So I thought, like, whatever I would do, I'd be fine, as long as the end goal is the same. And as long as I can relate whatever I'm doing in my field of study to that end goal and to that kind of central focus of why I want to be a doctor, I feel like I would be fine as long as I'm not doing it for the sake of just continuing the program or just finishing the degree. Like if I get into the One Health module, like I'll know why I'm doing that. If I do micro im, if I do phys, like I'll know why I'm doing that. So again, it's gone up and down. Like I've been all over the map, especially this year with how difficult first semester was. But ultimately, everything's staying the same, but just my perspective has changed since high school.
For me, like I said, I went in not knowing what I wanted to do, but like I had an idea. I was like, okay, I want to do something in biology, something like that, right? And that honestly just went out the window once I took my first psychology class in university. And wow, that was probably my favorite course ever. And I took it first semester and it was like my highest grade. And I was like, okay, let's try second semester psych, right? It wasn't a requirement, but I decided to take it, and then I took it, and then again, highest grade ever. Well, not ever, but like in that year. So I was really, really happy. And then I just decided to continue on with psychology. And from there, my friend also recommended environmental science, which, let's just say, I wasn't the most environmentally friendly person. So, going from high school where I thought biology, I've never taken psychology class. I thought psychology was like voodoo. It was like, oh no, it's just like all like make believe and that kind of thing. To me, ending up with psych and envirosci, definitely completely different than what I expected to do. But I'm 100% happy. Because I went into university thinking I'm gonna keep an open mind, and I came out with something amazing, and like it's just wonderful, and I learned a lot, and now I know I really love psychology. And for me, when I'm teaching right now, the environmental section portion, I look at every other teacher how they hate that portion. For me, because I do have the knowledge and I did take a lot of courses, I'm able to implement a lot of things. And there have been teachers who have seen me do other activities related to environmental science, and they're like, wow, that's cool. Where did you learn that? And I was like, oh, university. And they would take it and implement it for their students. So it is, I definitely was very lucky again, but just keep an open mind. A lot of us think we know exactly what we want from high school. And we have 3 examples here where something has changed from high school. So just keep an open mind. And I assume, Faizan, did you also change from high school, like your plans?
Listen, bro, I was lost then. I'm lost now. Like everything's the same. No,
We're all lost.
yes and no. So for me, it was, I think, as evidenced by my 16 applications on OUAC, it was that in high school, I really liked bio, and that's part of the reason why a lot of the programs I applied to were science focused, in that I thought I wanted to pursue the medicine route. But what ended up happening was, after I spoke with a few more people and just kind of got some more information, I thought, or at least I think I came to the conclusion that my interest in science, or the particular field of science where it lied, wasn't necessarily the same as what medicine was, in that medicine is a lot more like anatomy focused, to keep it plain and simple, whereas bio is more like research focused. And so my initial assumption of my liking for science translating to a particular career path was wrong. And that's when I started reevaluating. And at that point, it was like, if I want to continue down this research path, like I'm going to have to do like this, and this. And do I want to continue down that research path? And that answer was no. And that's why like, as I mentioned earlier, part of the reason why I came to Western, and that it allowed me to delay my decision by 2 years. I did health sci for the first 2 years. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the content. But then when I saw the opportunity with Ivy in business, and I ended up taking it, and I thought that my interests and what I think I'm good at, and like the things I'll learn there, might be better translated to a particular job after. And I still have an interest in healthcare. And I think potentially down the line, I might be able to combine those 2 interests in business and healthcare in the form of hopefully not hospital administration, because that's whack and it's really hard, but maybe like healthcare consulting or something along those lines. So yes, they definitely changed, and they are continually changing even as of right now. And as Mido said, that's not necessarily a bad thing, as long as you have a good rational thought process for why you're doing what you're doing. And hopefully that decision isn't stemmed in you trying to please your siblings or your parents or whoever. I think there's plenty of opportunities out there. Maybe not during a recession like we are in right now, but just in general, there are a lot of opportunities, and I think whatever you're interested in will definitely come through. So yeah. Yeah. I'm supposed to be the one asking the questions, but whatever. On that note, did any of you guys ever think of changing fields entirely? So you guys talked about kind of pivoting here and there within science, but did you guys ever consider just like leaving it and maybe transitioning to like psychology or engineering or something else?
Not for, well, personally, not during university. Actually, maybe, but I know during grade 12, during second semester, I was taking physics, calculus, chemistry, and French. Well, French was kind of a write-off, but yeah, because I was taking like those three courses, I was like, I kind of want to do engineering or something math-based. But that was just kind of me getting lost in the waters, that kind of anxiety that was propelled by waiting for some university acceptances. So I was kind of like in that boat where I was like, oh, I kind of wish I applied to engineering, but again, like that wasn't too serious. During university, I've contemplated like switching to maybe like kinesiology or just transitioning completely to political science, which was an elective I took in first year because I thought it was like real world wise, I thought it was pretty applicable, but I thought, I came here for a reason. I had to revisit those reasons before making like an actual decision. So I'm still on the same path I was. So which like if I would have to give advice to anyone, I would say like similar to Mido, like you should definitely keep an open mind coming into university, or you practice self-awareness to the point where you really know what you want to do, which is pretty rare because a lot of your decisions will be driven based on your experiences in the opportunities you get. Like if you want to do research, you might find that you really like research, but then once you get into like a lab position or like an assistant position, you realize like you really hate this. So you won't really know until you do those things. So again, like keeping an open mind is preferable over thinking you know what you want.
Yeah, no, for sure. For me, it was, I feel like I went through a lot of that, like the first semester of this year, especially. And I think it had a lot to do with like, again, like Hannan mentioned, he was just anxiety because just school was going just like, it was just so insane. And so, yeah, I definitely did consider, at least not switching completely out of my major, but also maybe like doing a double major from like another faculty. That was definitely something I considered. But then again, like Hannan said, I looked back to the reasons why I, chose the science program to begin with. And that kind of brought me back to being like, yeah, this is actually what I want to do. So, yeah.
Just if I may add quickly, sometimes you might find like a decision is like driven by peer pressure. You'll find if someone else is having, is in a program, it looks like the grass is always greener on the other side, right? So when I was considering engineering, it was because one of my best friends at the time was in Waterloo biomed engineering, and so like that was kind of like it wasn't because I really wanted to go into the field. It was because like I was missing my friends. So it's kind of like a dumb anecdote, but you might want to consider that because there's a lot of factors when it comes to like, switching fields programs.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what Hannan had said in terms of the grass is always greener on the other side. And for me, again, a lot of my friends, especially from high school, I was the only one who went into science. Like we're a group of 7. I was the only one who went into science, and like the other 6 went into engineering. And it just so happens that for me, I'd always look at them and I'm like, they can have a job after they finish that degree, right? For me, I'm gonna have debt and another degree that I need to go through to figure out what I want to do with my life. So I did think about that, and I remember my family seriously was convincing me out of my program when I was in first year going into second year. But thinking about it, I've always known that I do like biology. I like those kind of programs. So yes, I did go into teaching, but I'm a high school science teacher. I'm teaching a grade 12 biology class. I'm teaching grade 12 kinesiology, grade 9 science. So it's just still science, it's still biology, because ultimately, you know what you like. just trust your gut. Trust your gut. It's okay if other people are telling you to go elsewhere. Just think about it and then choose yourself.
Yeah, I honestly, I agree with the whole concept of the grass is greener on the other side. And my core group of friends, they all went into either like Waterloo or U of T engineering, or they ended up going into like all the science programs, both of which my parents also were trying to get me to go into. And like no one in my family, like they didn't really know what a business program was. And when I told them there was a 2-year accelerated business program, there was somebody, this guy was my tax accountant, telling me that this program was fake. I swear to God. He was like, listen to me, kid. There's no such thing as a 2-year undergrad program. I'm like, yeah, but you can go on the website. He's like, no. There's no such thing as a 2-year undergrad program. And then my mom, listening to this tax accountant, she got scared. And she's like, Faison, what are you doing? Like, why are you going to Western? You're going to be living away from home. You're doing this weird program with 2 degrees in 5 years. Like, what's wrong with you? And I'm just standing there like, this guy's a tax accountant. Like, what the hell does he know? But yeah, no, definitely. Like, that was like a silly anecdote. But the point of that was saying was like a lot of times I look at my close friends, and only 1 or 2 of them of my high school friends are in a business program, or they're pursuing a similar career path as me. And sometimes it feels like, like, what if I made this other decision, or what if I made that other decision? But the fact of the matter is, they probably are thinking that about you. And it's that whatever path you're going down on, it's going to yield like really good results. And as Mido said, like when one door opens, then comes another 5. So you're going to have a lot of opportunities, honestly. And it's okay, I suppose, to think otherwise, but you shouldn't let that sort of drive you, or you shouldn't let that cause any anxiety or stress or anything like that. But
yeah, for sure. I've talked to quite a few health science students who were in health science at Western in first year, but they ended up switching to general science, which is funny because a lot of med science students are kind of contemplating like switching to something else. So again, like this is just like further proof that like your experience is your experience, and everything will always seem like better, but you won't know until you do it. And sometimes like the cost of switching is greater than the benefit.
On that note, for those who are considering, because the offers for universities are sort of rolling out this month, if you were to give any advice to people who are considering science as a field or a particular science program, or just trying to understand why science is important to them, because you guys hit upon that part in that science is sort of a long journey and you got to be committed to it, what advice would you give them?
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Honestly, just like trust your gut. When you're sitting in biology class, when you're sitting in a chemistry class, do you have a smile on your face, or are you thinking, ugh? Compare that to other classes. What class are you sitting in that you're like, you know what? I like this. The teacher is nice. The material is cool. I wish I could learn more about this. Because ultimately, if you're planning on going to university, whether you like it or not, you're going to commit yourself to a lifetime worth of learning, right? And figure out what you want to learn. Figure out, am I interested to learn more about my body? Am I interested to learn more about math and how to build things? Am I interested to learn about, I don't know, money? That kind of thing. So figure out what puts a smile on your face, or in other words, figure out what doesn't seem like the biggest torture.
I don't know. I feel like, okay, for me, my choosing my program and my university really wasn't like, I didn't overthink it, to be completely honest with you. I visited Western's campus. For me, the bottom line was I knew that for science, like at least for me, I knew that I had to go to grad school, and that ultimately it was grad school that really mattered, more so than my undergrad degree. And so when I was comparing all the science programs that I applied to, I was just like, okay, which university am I going to have the best time at? Like, which university do I, like, I just want to go to? Like, do I feel like I'm going to have...
She came to Western for the partying, damn.
I was like, which university am I going to have the best student experience? And I visited Western's campus, and I talked to a bunch of people there, and my sister was going to Western too. And so I was just like, you know what, this is it. Like, that was kind of just my mindset.
I have a question. Did you come to Western in the hopes that you would do grad school at Western?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I just, yeah. For me, I chose Western because, again, like the Met-Sci degree kind of gives you a lot of cool modules to choose from. And then again, I just thought, like, I visited the campus and I thought the campus was super pretty, and I talked to a bunch of people and I was just like, oh, this is nice. So that was pretty much how I went about with it. But I know a lot of other people put a lot of thought into you know, where they want to get their undergrad degree. So I can't speak on their behalf, but yeah.
Yeah, like if I were to give advice to anyone, I could write a whole book on this, just because I remember spending at least the first month of second year just kind of any first year student, I would try to like give them motivational speeches and like give them a lot of unsolicited advice now that I think about it. Like the first thing, like, so in terms of advice, if I could go back and tell like my first year self to like, the advice I would tell like him to follow is something like that you don't hear a lot, is like be careful of who you get advice from. So this is kind of meta, you know, like if someone tells you like, for example, oh, this physics class is harder than this physics class. So for example, like if you go into first year med-sci at Western, you have the choice between 3 physics courses. So there's like physics 1301 and 1501, which are calculus based, and then 1028, which is like just algebra based. So I was really wanting to take the calculus based one, but then people were like, no, 1301 is hard to get a 4.0 and you don't need it for the MCAT. And I was stupid. I listened to that. So I felt like if I got like opinions from 5 more people, 10 more people, I would have made a more informed decision and made a decision that was better for me. So that'll apply, you know, when it comes to choosing the courses you want to take, which is really important for second year, because obviously you want to take the prerequisites that allow you to study the specialization you want, but also if you're geared towards medicine, you still want to do well, get that high GPA, right? So that's the first thing I would say. Again, in terms of the second thing, what was I going to say? I think Fizan mentioned this, or we've talked about this again, like self-awareness is a really big thing. But again, you won't really know until you're in the program. So once you're in university, once you've chosen the program, like you take your first semester is kind of a trial and error thing, because you'll have to figure out the best way you study, and choosing like the habits that'll best suit your academic life, and make sure that whatever decisions you make are best for you and you're not following anyone else. That's especially important because, you know, again, for science, you want to be dedicated to what you're doing and not just kind of going through the motions and doing it for the sake of doing it. Like Mido said, if you're sitting in class, do you have a smile on your face, or are you like, wow, I can't wait to get out of here, you know, and go to like a party or something else, or do something else other than, you know, being in class and learning about bio or chem, physics, or whatever. So again, like there's a lot of advice I can give. I don't know if we're allowed to like plug our socials or emails at the end of this, but yeah, like for me, like personally, I'm
willing to Instagram. Don't worry, bro. You'll get the clout.
Like Instagram for sure.
From our 80
yeah, again, like I try my best to like really like give advice to people, because I noticed like the orientation program at West, like let me like rant it for a little bit. Like the orientation program at Western is great, but I noticed that it's kind of like the same people moving forward, and getting into those positions who can give advice to first years. So, you know, again, like try to get as much information as possible from different sources. Don't go to the same type of person, because their experience is not going to be the same as yours. And at the end of the day, you don't want to be regretting a decision you made, and then you're 2 years into your degree, and you want to end up 2 years into your degree and be like, oh, I don't know why I did this. Now I'm kind of in an awkward position, especially for medicine, where again, like everything counts. You want to do as well as possible, so you want to make an informed decision. Yeah.
I honestly, you can speak after me if you want me to. I was just gonna say, I didn't mean to say that in like an arrogant way. I just had a thought. And what you mentioned about talking to different people is very important because, and especially seeking out people from your desired program that ended up having a sort of a diverse set of experiences and they ended up at different places, because that's important. And that when you figure out that there are multiple different opportunities out there, you might explore that opportunity a little bit more, and you might think that somewhere along those lines might suit you a little bit better. I remember this year when I was talking to a bunch of different people about like different career trajectories. One of the people I wanted to speak with was someone in healthcare consulting, but I couldn't find anyone in Ivy who sort of did that. And I ended up finding someone who graduated from Western Health Sciences, who now works at like the Big Four, who ended up there. And I would have never thought that someone who graduated from Western Health Sci would end up at a Big Four firm doing healthcare consulting. But that just goes to show that people, honestly, like the places they end up, you'd be surprised in that some people, after they do engineering, they end up in medical school, or some people after they go into med school, they might end up doing like a PhD and like might do research after. You never know. And so kind of exploring those options and talking to different people is extremely, extremely important. And kind of what Hannan also said, like most people are actually willing to help you out. You just have to take that first step of reaching out. Like I'm sure if anyone were to come to any of us, we would be more than happy to have a chat with them and talk. Okay, not that guy, but we would be more than willing to have a chat with them and share our experiences and our thoughts. And you just have to kind of take that first step, I think. Sorry, Mido, you wanted to say something?
Completely fine. I was gonna say like we're giving great advice and everything, but there's one thing that they really, really need to understand is that if you go into science, you're 100% gonna need to go into grad school. And for while you're in grade 12, you're like, you know what, it's cool, I can go into grad school, no problem. But you really need to think about it, because for me, I look at my friends who are in engineering, they've graduated. They now have actual lives. They're working for 60 grand, 70 grand a year. They have cars, they have like actual apartments, actual houses. They're living their life. They have adult friends, and you're still in school with too much debt, and you're kind of like, I just wish sometimes I can start life. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about grad school. Keep that in mind when you're thinking about school in general, whether you're deciding science or something else. Realize that if your friends, they're going to be graduating, if they're not going into science, much earlier than you. And just keep that in mind, and like don't be discouraged, but at the same time, don't take it lightly, right? Because it will take it will impact you a bit. Like I can speak from experience. There have been times where I'm kind of like, kind of sucks that they're already starting their life and I'm still here in university. You'll have your ups and downs. Just keep that in mind. Okay. Thank you.
Actually,
you can talk now.
I don't know. I would disagree with you slightly in that I think you put a blanket statement on saying that you will have to do grad school. I think that's the case for maybe 80, 85, maybe even 90% of people who pursue science. But I think there are, I think there is a fair, not a fair, but I think there is a percentage of people who end up, though they might change their career trajectories, I think that they can escape, for lack of a better term, the grad school aspect and maybe transition into a workforce, granted that they will have to sort of pivot where their interest lies or what their work entails. But I do agree with like general like sentiment. I don't know. You guys feel free to like agree, disagree, like, you know.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, I know. Like, there's I haven't looked into this because I apologize if I make any inaccurate statements. But there's like the third year internship program at Western, or the science internship program at Western. Which again, if anyone listening to this is thinking about going to Western, you should definitely look into that and see if it's something that interests you. It basically puts you, like it gives you a placement somewhere. I don't know if it's just in London or anywhere else into like a field that either you're interested in or something completely different within the sciences. So it helps you kind of explore different opportunities and, again, you kind of build those connections and get your foot in the door so you can seek employment again without having to really go and do a master's or a PhD. and again, like Mido said, like if you want to do grad school, you can't just be like half-hearting it. You have to like really be committed and really like, you know, like again, like I haven't done a master's. I'm 2 years into my undergrad, but you know, like once you get exposure to research, you realize like with how kind of tedious and detail oriented and meticulous you need to be. You can't just be like, oh, I'm doing this because I'm kind of interested in it, but I could also see myself doing something else. But you know, like it's definitely beneficial if you're willing to give your 100%, so that you know when things get difficult, when an experiment isn't going well, when you're not hearing back about grants, like you want to be like, you know, resilient and perseverance, so you can get through and, you know, hopefully live a successful life after you finish your years and years of education.
Okay, the last thing I wanted to ask you guys, this is sort of like a bit more open-ended. Are there any misconceptions about the science field or the potential careers that you guys want to kind of go into, that after experiencing undergrad or just, you know, talking to people, that you think are misconceptions or are not true?
I feel like the biggest misconception, and this is something that I also believed when I was younger, was that if you go into science, you're either going to med school or you're just like not, or you're just not going to do anything with your degree. And now that I am in science, and like I've met so many people who've had either gone to med school or gone to grad school or done something completely different, there's so much you can do with science. It's just that you have to be willing to, you know, go out of your way and figure out what it is you want to do with your degree. Like with science, you can't just sit there and be like, oh, you know what, you know, this is my degree, I'm just going to go with the flow and like, you know, just take things as they go. You actually have to sit down and think about what you want to do with your degree and how you want to get there. And also I feel like people think that science is just, if you're doing science, it means you're doing science and nothing else. But I've actually talked to a lot of profs who have actually like combined a whole bunch of degrees, but then they still teach in the faculty of science. Like I was talking to one health prof, and her PhD is actually in political science. And so I thought that was super, super cool. And so it just shows you that science isn't just like a one-way route. Like there's so many different places it could take you. And you just need to have that open mind and kind of look into what interests you and how you can, you know, bring that all together with science.
I actually have a follow-up question, sort of speaking to misconceptions a little bit. When I think of research, I think of the traditional, like, you know, wet lab, wearing a white coat, like analyzing like bacteria or whatever you guys do. Could you speak to like a little bit as to like, what is the scope of research and what are the potential opportunities in that? Because I was very similar to you in that I thought it was med school or bust when I was considering science. And research, I personally decided not to go into it. And there were a lot of misconceptions or assumptions behind that. Right. So could you maybe speak a little bit to like what research entails? What are the potential opportunities available for anyone who might be interested in research? Right.
I feel like Hannan was saying, I think a lot of people think that like once you, like your research isn't an easy thing. It's very detail oriented. And a lot of it is actually, you know, people have that, like you said, have that vision that you're just always working in a wet lab. But a lot of it is actually like collecting data and data analysis and just so much of that, like long hours of looking through data. And so it's not your fun, just looking at like at bacteria and stuff like that. Like there's a lot of behind the scenes work that goes on to like with publishing a research paper. If that answers the question. I don't know if that was even your question. Was that even your question?
Partly. I suppose my question was just when you think of research, or when people are considering research, what are the potential opportunities that they can get themselves into?
I could try like addressing that, if that's fine. Because the research I've done over like the past year has not been wet lab at all. The only time I've held a pipette was in first year bio and in second year research methods, and outside of that, like months in high school. So like after first year, I did this internship at Bridgepoint Active Healthcare, and we mainly just kind of did like we were making a systematic review of like literature related to chronic pain and depression. I know it kind of sounds boring, but like if you when you go and seek out those opportunities, you'll find that not every prof does the same type of research. Some will do clinical, which is more like, again, like working with patients, more dry lab. Obviously, you have the profs who are, you know, very wet lab based, so they're working with cells and, you know, cell cultures and, you know, and enzyme assays and stuff like that. And then you'll have like the, I guess, like the kind of the psych neuro side, like research where they're working with like magnetic resonance imaging, and, you know, they're working more, again, with patients, but in a more like in a different way that's like clinical research. So I also was a research assistant for this one lab that is focused on evaluating reading and math skills in adults. So that's, again, like, that has nothing to do with being in a wet lab, but it still will develop those skills, even though it's not necessarily medically related, or, you know, doesn't involve like doing like those experiments that you'll see in a bio class. It's still research. I think at the end of the day, you're developing those same inquiry skills and you're collecting data and stuff like that, like Rhonda said. So like once you start looking into the opportunities, you realize that there's a great diversity of stuff you can do, and there's something for everyone. Not only in terms of volume, but in terms of experience.
One also big thing that you need to keep in mind is the type of research you go into. There's both project-based and research-intensive. So, for example, project-based, what happens is that there's a prof has a project, and you just usually jump onto that project and you help them out with it, and then from there you can get your grad degree or whatever. That's not usually the case for research intensive, in that you're the one who's creating your own idea. You have a vision, and your task is to bring about that vision, right? And the thing is, you're not even required to create that vision before entering your master's. You just, like for me, when I applied to my master's, I had a vision, and I applied to the research intensive specifically because I wanted to carry out that vision. And I look at what I had in mind back then versus what I'm currently doing. It has changed. It has changed because you do take courses in your first year of master's, and you're learning a lot. And it's not even courses that help you in like a wet lab scenario. It's mostly like, oh, how do you write a research paper? How do you go through ethics? Did you know that to go through ethics, you need about 4 to 5 months before they'll even accept it? So if you decide to go through ethics, you're literally, for the next 4 to 5 months, you're just gonna be sitting bored trying to figure out when they're gonna accept your ethics proposal, right? So yeah, writing ethics is such a brutal thing for anyone who's ever written ethics. It is a very, very long, tedious, very detailed process. And essentially, the whole concept is, do you want to carry out your vision? Do you have an idea that you want to create? And it's okay if when you're applying for your master's, you don't even have an idea yet, because your supervisor, they'll most likely be willing to help, right? When you go into your classes, they're there to help you figure out what you want to carry out, right? So it really does depend on the type of master's that you're entering. And like for me, I did undergrad in science, did a teaching degree, and now my master's is completely left field. It's in applied linguistics, right? Together, somehow not somehow, I do intend to connect all of them. I already know how I'm going to connect it, but essentially together, I'm going to connect all of them, and that's completely fine. Who cares if it's not in the education? Who cares if my master's is not psychology or master's of science? That's completely fine. As long as you know how you intend to connect them together, that's really all that matters. And research is a big thing of it, is what you want to get out of it and what you're hoping to get out of it. So that is a big factor. Don't go into it thinking, yay, I'm gonna have a master's, or yay, I'm gonna have a PhD. That's not really how it works. It is a matter of, I actually want to pursue something. Like for me, when I was applying for my master's, my supervisor did everything she could to discourage me out of applying for my master's, to make sure that I was actually truly committed. She said, oh, there's other ways you can figure out the answer to your question. There's other ways you can do this. There's other ways you can do that. She gave me alternatives, because supervisors don't want to take on students who aren't serious. And the students are gonna have a brutal time if they're not really serious about what they're doing. Okay?
I don't want to do a master's anymore.
Like I said,
Oh, same, yeah.
Yeah. Mido, can you be my
Yeah, no, for sure.
supervisor?
Yeah.
let me get my PhD, and I'm more than happy to do so.
If I could I just like speak to one of Mido's points? Again, I've mentioned this before, but like Mido said, like a supervisor wants you to like take things seriously, and obviously I don't have experience with the masters, but you'll notice a microcosm of this when you're trying to get your foot in the door with research as an undergrad. Again, like profs will have like a sixth sense and are able to tell when you're like kind of faking it versus when you're showing genuine interest and are committed to the cause. So yeah, that's another thing I just wanted to reiterate.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
If you guys have any like last minute, I don't want to call it advice, but like thoughts or anything else you guys want to share for students who are considering sort of science or maybe specifically coming to Mac or Western, floor is open. All yours. Go for it.
Oh, sorry.
No,
You can go. Sorry.
all I was gonna say was, for everything that we have said, if at any point you might feel discouraged or feel like, oh, you know what, they make it sound hard, just realize that we do have experience and we're still in it. We're still happy-ish, and we're still wanting to continue in it. So it is an awesome program to commit to should you decide to. So don't feel discouraged. Just enter it and be open-minded and be willing to learn in whatever field you decide to enter. Go ahead, Hannan.
Okay, so like when you I think I don't know if this will apply to like any university, but I know for sure at Western, don't be that person who's like, oh, what's the best elective or course to take for a science student when you're in first year? Like, what's the best business course for a science? Like, sure, there's courses that are like business for science, ethics for science, but when you're in first year, everyone's in the same boat. Like, just don't think you're any different or superior or inferior based on your field of study, because again, it doesn't matter what like field of study you're doing, what discipline you're in. It matters what you do with it. Just because I'm in something that sounds harder doesn't mean I'm any smarter or more superior than someone who's in a field that's traditionally considered to be easy. Another thing I think I wanted to touch on was about like science being difficult. Again, it's just like the tools you use and the content you learn is different. And again, like that's whether the content is for everyone is debatable. But if you really are interested, if you really do have a passion for it, it'll get difficult at times, obviously, because that's what kind of university is designed to do, to make you a hardworking person. But don't be discouraged by the fact that something looks complex, but at the end of the day, everything goes back to the same fundamental principles, and as long as you get the basics right, you'll be prepared to excel during your degree. And a final thing is about, like, I know in grade 11 and 12 people want to be doctors really badly, or they want to go into science really badly because they like the content they learned in grade 11 bio and grade 10 science, but then they get to grade 12 bio and they're like, oh, what the hell is this? And even the people who fall in love with grade 12 bio, again, it doesn't translate to doing well in science, because science isn't content, science is about the process, right? So you really have to understand what, obviously you have to know like the fundamental concept before you go into a specialized field, but you also have to know about how to get to that point. How are these metabolic processes discovered? How is this explained through an experiment? What steps are taken to get to that conclusion? So again, before going into the program, realize that you have to be adept when it comes to following those steps, and being detail oriented. And just because you like a certain field of study, it's definitely like a perk, but it doesn't translate to doing well in science or any field.
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree with all of that. Something I also wanted to mention, this is maybe advice for people after they get into their program, is don't give in to peer pressure. Just don't at all. Follow your gut. Take the courses you want to take, even if people tell you they're going to be hard. If you think they're cool and you talk to people who took the courses and they enjoyed it, go for it. even if it's supposed to be hard, just go for it. Whatever module you're choosing, if it's something that people have told you it's going to be difficult for you to get a career after you graduate, or it's just a difficult module to get into, or any of that, trust yourself, work hard, and just go for it. Don't give in to any of the peer pressure. And also, another thing, a lot of people, when they're applying to like medical school, like they want to apply to medical school, right? So you have to, rack up on extracurriculars and, get your research positions and everything like that. Make sure that you're also enjoying your extracurriculars, and all the research positions that you're applying to are actually things that you're going to enjoy, because those are the things you're going to know how to talk about. If you don't enjoy what you're doing, you're not going to know how to talk about it. And so, yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents. Hopefully it's helpful to someone out there.
Yeah. It only takes one person to knock you off your goal, and there's 750 people.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of them are great, but it takes one person to throw you off track. That's what I'll say. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you guys for taking the time out to share your thoughts and your experiences. Whatever you guys do in your free time, be it playing FIFA or go through Google Scholars, I hope you guys are enjoying your summer break, or if you guys choose to do courses during the summer, and are staying safe with this whole COVID pandemic. But yeah, no, honestly, appreciate you guys coming here and sharing your thoughts. But yeah, stay tuned for the listeners for future episodes that are going to be focused more on different fields like engineering and business. And yeah, thank you for listening, and thank you to our guests for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.